Yo, what is up, guys? Shinobi here, back again with another video for you guys. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with more. I would say another reaction here. Today we're gonna be reacting to Kaizen Kuma. He is pretty well known, I would say, especially around the smaller side of the content creators who do fighting games. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe on his video. He's made some pretty crazy videos, though he did go on a break. I'm pretty sure he's back now. This is the first video I've seen from him in a little while. So make sure to go ahead and support him. But we're going to be talking about, I guess, the most toxic community ever seen, a long rant about the anime game cycle. And I feel like this needs to be talked about. I'm going to be real with you. I know we got, Demon Slayer coming out pretty soon, and we got Bleach Rebirth of Souls right now, which is still doing pretty good, especially with the devs and everybody patching stuff. But I think this needs to be addressed, and a lot of people don't like to talk about it. But hey, we're here to talk about it,
How's it
so
going, you
let's
guys?
get
We're
it.
finally back with some regular good content, and it feels good to be back. I appreciate y'all support while I've been gone, and you guys can look forward to some regular uploads back on the channel now that I've.
Yeah, no, this definitely needs to be talked about though, because I feel like a lot of anime games, like the most positive experience we've had was when Storm 3 or 4 was out. That was when you saw the most positive competitive area. It wasn't a lot of toxicity until after that. I don't know why, but it definitely needs to be talked about. Also, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more as well. Trying to hit that 1K sub goal this year. So hopefully we can get that done within the next couple of either, days, weeks, months, whatever it may be. But like and subscribe. You want more kind of content like this. Been trying to kind of, if you haven't seen on the channel, experiment. So let's continue.
Figured out how to fit content into my very busy schedule. So, if you guys did not know, I basically beat my longest stream record the other day, and I wanted to sit down and talk to the channel, my viewers, and give a long term perspective on why anime games never really work long term, as a perspective from a gamer, as a content creator, as a niche, as a community, and so many different ways. And it was really just like the first 3 or 4 hours of the stream, and then the rest was just me playing. But that's what the stream was essentially. And this video was just me breaking down some of my main points in a less angry,
I was about to say, why wasn't he able to hit him
constructive
right
way
there?
that just comes off as genuine and gives you guys a sense of exactly why I feel this way, and just tell you guys the truth, man. Because I feel like a lot of content creators just don't speak about this. They shy away from it because they either want to be in the cool kid groups, and you're not really supposed to talk about this type of stuff, or this is just
Which is what I find is crazy, because back then, or at least I would say back then, usually if there was some sort of toxicity, that shit would get shut down immediately, because we didn't want that. Like, people were held more accountable, especially if they were starting toxicity out of nowhere, or they just settled the beef in the game. I'm gonna be real with you. There wasn't none of this crazy stuff going on. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, it wasn't that bad as far as I remember in the Storm 4 days, or the Storm 3. But then again, back then too, YouTube was still new to a degree, and even though there were people uploading and whatnot, a lot of people would just play these kind of games with their friends at home more than online with others. Not saying that there wasn't an online community for anime games back then. There was, but you didn't see the kind of stuff that you're seeing now, because it wasn't as, I would say, popular during that time. Obviously, Naruto, Storm 4 was really popular, still one of the most popular, one of my favorite, anime fighters to this day. But I feel like the shift happened when everything started kind of getting more online and everything like that. When people started going out of their way to find broken bugs and then post them online, and then obviously people are gonna go and trying to do those broken bugs because they want to win and they want their ego stroked. Especially now with social media being so prevalent, everybody wants to be known as the best at this, the best at that, which isn't a bad thing inherently, but people sometimes take it too far and it gets in their heads, like an ego thing. I don't know. It's an ego thing for sure, but there's a lot of different reasons. Another big one being, of course, the developers sometimes not fixing the game or having it out on day one being just completely fixed. I know for a fact that has been an issue, but I think even that, to a degree, while it is a problem, and I know I'm yapping here, but I think even though that's a problem, I've seen games, like fighting games specifically, that have had really shitty releases and still, like, the community made the best out of it. They came together and they made the best out of it. It's why you see smaller games be popping up at Evo and other stuff like that, or even on the side at those big tournaments, because even though they have, what is essentially a shitty launch, they make the best out of it. They get a positive community together, and that's the reason why we still see tournaments, even though not big. We still see tournaments for games like Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle, JoJo's and whatnot. Games that aren't necessarily big, but have a committed fan base that just works for what they got. So I know I did a little bit of a yap session there, but I feel like a lot of the problems that could be solved in the anime community is if we all got together and just started being positive with the game instead of negative. You know, and I don't know what it is, but it's like, yeah, everybody wants to win, but at the end of the day, having fun is also good too. I've had plenty of matches where I've lost, and the match was just so good that I won. It was just fun. That's the kind of stuff we need to be having. We need to be playing these matches to have fun, not just to just win and be the best. Because at the end of the day, you know, nobody's really gonna care, especially in real life, too much if you're the best at this or the best at that. When it comes to anime fighters, especially, unless you're like at a tournament or something like that. Even then, it's really small niche thing. So at the end of the day, the fun is what should matter. But I digress. I'll let him continue. I did a little bit of a yap session right there, but if I think we want to fix the anime community space as far as the fighting games go, first thing that needs to be addressed is that we need to be enjoying these games. And it doesn't always have to be about who's better than who or whatnot. Just having fun. And I'll probably talk about Sparking Zero specifically a little bit more because I feel like the game, while it wasn't meant to be balanced, it had to be balanced to a degree because of the space and the way that it is right now. There are certain things in the game that probably wouldn't have been found if this game was released back in the day, because there wasn't a lot of people posting online broken texts and everything like that, or oh, you could do this with this character and nobody can stop you kind of thing. There wasn't a lot of that back then. But I digress. I'm gonna stop yapping here. I did a little bit
Something
of a
to
yap session
genuinely
there,
care
but
about or really think about. But I think if you are a part of this niche, I think it's something that should be
did a little
addressed,
bit of a
should be
yap
talked
session right
about
there, but
more
it definitely
regularly.
needs to be
I
talked
think that
about.
if enough people talk about it, something would be done about it. But realistically speaking, this is me just giving y'all real game again, as I say. And I don't think this video is going to necessarily really affect anything long term, but I did want y'all to, at least be aware of the channel change and aware of like where does all this stuff stem from? Like what makes it so difficult to be an anime content creator when it comes to gaming, and what stuff do y'all deal with? So basically, the main reason why I feel like anime games don't go anywhere long term is three different reasons, each individually split up in different cases. Sometimes it's the company. That's the first reason. I think anime games haven't
Yeah,
really had any genuine, genuine long term stability since like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 3 or like 4. Like these
Naruto
games
Storm
get
4
the bare
specifically. I'm gonna be
minimum.
real with you.
They don't get that much communication, and games drop and we don't get the full actual patched full game until we're a year into the game, and then finally all the bugs are fixed. Finally you get different game modes. Finally you're getting ranked. Finally you're getting the full game, and that long term does not allow the games to survive. The second reason is definitely a
And I'm gonna pause there because I think I talked about this a little bit, but yes, I definitely agree with him on this point. But I also feel like the game could survive if the community made the best out of what they could do with it. We've seen that even with Rebirth of Souls, where with the bugs that we had, Globeku and their crew, they were able to make a tournament that was allowing the game to be fair to a degree. You know, without like they had rules against people actually doing the delayed combos that you could do at that point in time, because they didn't patch that out yet, but they had it to where you could only do that a couple of times and then you had to stop or you would get banned. They had a rule set in place. They even with the problems the game had at that point in time, it's fixed now, but even with the problems the game had at that time, the community was able to make a tournament and a thing for the game, in this case being Rebirth of Souls, to make it to where everybody could join, everybody could have fun, and at the end, it all I would say worked out well. I enjoyed watching Globu's tournament that he did. So once again, I'm not saying the developers are blameless in this. Let's get that clear. They definitely are. I would prefer if the games came out released, but I do say that the community could take their part and actually helping make the game or the community surrounding that anime game, positive and actually make something out of it.
Large part of the community. Um, Typically, like I said before, all different games
The
have
game is
very
what you make it
toxic
in a sense, basically.
communities, but I feel like the anime game niche community is definitely like the worst out of all of them. A lot of these people go out of their way to get on here and play like they're gods, picking the most dork way to play, essentially. All these different games have like 100 plus characters, and I think the anime community niche, the entire anime community as a whole, when they get on these games, are hypocrites because people will sit there and talk about how, oh, the game doesn't have that many characters. Why don't we have this character? But and then on the same other side, not pick said character unless they're meta, broken, or easy way to win in the game, which is completely sheep drone activity. There,
Okay, I'm gonna pause it here. I definitely agree with him, though at the same time, I think that people can play whoever they want, but then they can't. I would say that people can play whoever they want, but then they can't complain like by proxy. They can't complain about the roster size at that point because take for instance Sparking Zero. People talking about how there's not a lot of characters to play and all that sometimes, or where's this character, where's that character. Meanwhile, you look at what they do play and not judging, but it's like, okay, you say you want to play more characters, but here you are hopping on ranked only, playing the Gojitas, the Vegetos, and only like the top 5 characters in the game. That's it. You don't play anybody else. So it's like I don't judge anybody for playing those kind of characters because whatever. But then it's like you can't complain if you like, especially if the game has a lot of characters in it. Like once again, Sparking Zero has a huge variety of characters in it, you know, that you can play. But everybody decides to only play the top tier characters to win in ranked to get that Z rank and whatnot. I don't see a lot of that in Rebirth of Souls. Hilariously enough, I actually see a lot of people kind of just playing their favorites. But I once again I don't disagree with the fact of what he's saying, but at the same time, I think that people can play who they want, but they can't just say that there's not a lot of characters, but then you're only playing a certain amount. You're only playing like maybe 10% of the roster or 5% of the roster because they're really strong, but then want to turn around and say there's nobody else to play.
they're hypocrites because despite complaining about roster sizes, different mechanics, and different things missing in a game, these are the same people that'll get on the game and go out of their way to do that exact same thing that they're complaining about isn't there. So, for example, Sparking Zero, right? We don't have ranked. Well, we have ranked. We had tournament mode. We had endless. We had all these other game modes, and dudes did nothing but play ranked nonstop.
Right.
You barely saw any content creators try to help the space. You barely saw anybody try to do anything outside of ranked. Nonstop, all Sparking Zero was ranked. So, of course, the game long term isn't going to do well if all you see on your uploads with Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube is why the game is bad because you get online and all day you're playing ranked instead of trying out the other game modes. It makes you a hypocrite because the game mode is there, you just don't do it because clout, because content, right? That's another main reason. And that kind of loops into the third reason why I feel like anime games will never really go well. They never do. Is content creators. Content creators go out of their way also to kill these games,
He ain't
whether
wrong.
it's on purpose or whether it's just by not understanding their level of awareness. Like,
I'm gonna be real. I don't think a lot of content creators go into these games thinking that they're trying to kill the game. But at the same time, I don't think they're thinking about the repercussions of their actions when they do make certain videos, especially like take for instance Sparking Zero, right? Sparking Zero, when it came out, the moment that everybody figured out about the androids and how you can fly up and down, guess what everybody was doing? Flying up and down with the androids and basically just posting videos. Oh yeah, I'm so good because I can do this and it takes no key. And then obviously we saw Dragon Ball Sparking Zero get embarrassed, on 4K TV when they had a tournament, and that's all people were doing is flying up and down, right? And I made a comment about, how back in the day, in the Storm 4 days, if this game had came out, I don't think that people wouldn't have found out about the flying up and down key thing with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero if it came out back then. But at the same time, even if they did figure out, because it would probably get found out sooner or later, I don't think you would be seeing a lot of people posting it online about, oh, this is like the most broken thing you can do here. It takes no key. There would be some people, but it wouldn't be to the extent that it is now. You know, that's how I think about it. Versus now, where everybody's trying to clout chase or trying to, obviously get views because that's YouTube and whatnot, TikTok, all that. It's like it's a mixed bag because I once again don't think that these people go into this space thinking, oh yeah, let's kill another anime game. We want these games to thrive, or at least I want them to thrive. That's why I'm still to this day supporting, obviously Bleach Rebirth of Souls. I talk about the patches. If I do see something that's broken, whenever they got a server, I'm putting it in there because I want the game to be good. I want it to be fun for everybody. You don't see me running around, putting in, oh, here's this broken tech you can do that's, a glitch or something in the game. Um, but yeah, he ain't wrong though that there is not a lot of self awareness when they do this because it's like once again when you post these broken texts online, especially now, you like people are going to go ahead and abuse those texts, and that's gonna of course destroy the space because at that point now nobody's having fun because everybody's trying to run the broken tech, which is why you saw a lot of androids running around back with Sparking Zero, when it first came out versus people talking about beforehand how they were going to talk about their favorite, playing their favorite characters, but then you find all this broken tech online, and now everybody's favorite character is the androids and Dr. Wheelo, you know, or hell, the Gogetas and whatnot. Though to be honest, I'm gonna be real, Gogeta and Vegeta have their like. I'm a Gogeta fan, so I'm not even gonna say that they ain't popular because there's been a beef between the two fandoms as far as who's better for a long ass time. There's like that subsection where it's like who's better between Gogeta and Vegeta, and people still arguing to this day. It's like the Superman and Goku argument. But I'm yapping here. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with him though.
Of how much influence they actually have in terms of the bigger creators or the smaller creators just following immediate trends and going out of their way because the view counts look like they're good absolutely helps in the cases for why some of these games die. I think Sparking Zero is the perfect example of a game going through that cycle in the quickest way possible.
Yeah, most
Because
definitely.
when I talk about like some of the worst games I've ever played, I talk about the Storm community. A lot of people ask me like, "Yo, what's the worst community? Why do you say the Storm community is the worst?" I still think Sparking Zero is third place in terms of the worst anime game communities I've ever been a part of.
I'm
But
curious on who he has in second.
in terms of the fastest game being killed, Sparking Zero is probably
Because me personally, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think Storm 4's community was actually pretty alright. There wasn't a lot of craziness going on that I saw, and it was pretty positive in my opinion, based on what I saw. There wasn't a lot of craziness. There was a lot of creativity, a lot of people, just having fun. So I'm curious. I wonder if he's talking about Storm Connections specifically, because I heard there's a lot of toxicity in that community right now, a lot of it. Because Storm 4 and Storm 3, man, there was hell, especially Storm 3. There wasn't even a lot of content around Storm 3 at that point. YouTube was still in its infancy. But yeah. Now I'm curious on who he has in second, because Sparking Zero in third is kind of crazy. Not gonna lie to you, because that community I think is arguably just as toxic as the Dragon Balls, as toxic as the Storm Connections community was, to a degree. To a degree, because I think that it calmed down after a little bit. It took a little while, but I think it calmed down. Versus, I think Storm Connections is still toxic as hell right now.
the fastest anime game I've ever seen die in my life. For the hype that we had behind it, for all the stuff that we were expecting out of it, it's immaculate how insanely fast this game kind of died out. And that goes to the credit of content creators showing busted shit. That goes for the
Yep.
developers not patching stuff fast enough or, you know, making a lot of silly decisions when it comes to mechanics. And then it comes to the community itself going out of their way to exploit and use these things nonstop
Yep.
in an atmosphere that's supposed to be enjoyable.
And that's what I mean by when I say when content creators who post broken stuff and stuff, things like that, they're doing it for views on YouTube, yes, but they're not thinking about the aspect of, okay, could this kill the game if everybody in the community starts using this broken tech that's not supposed to be there and that needs to be patched out? If I post this, they're not thinking about, could this kill the community as far as the enjoyability of the game? They're not thinking about that. And obviously, it's on the devs to patch that kind of stuff and how have it even out of the game before it even launches. But when it's in the game and people find that kind of stuff, once again, I think that me personally, I didn't see it a lot back then. But even the stuff that Storm 4 had, that needed to get patched, you didn't see a lot of people going online talk about, oh, here's the most broken, you know, like here's the most broken like tech patch or whatever you want to call it. Here's this broken thing that you can do that is hell of toxic. Like you didn't see that kind of thing going on. Versus now, anytime you find something crazy that's just broken, it gets posted online. I mean, we saw it. Hell, we even saw it sometimes with we saw it in Sparking Zero, and hell, we even saw a little bit going on in Bleach Rebirth of Souls. Though I think with Bleach Rebirth of Souls, based on what I was seeing, people were more like calling it out more than saying, "Hey, use this online and all that." But that's also due to the fact that with how the Bleach devs have made this game and how they are patching it, they actually are trying to balance the game. So it's like people are posting all these broken clips of stuff that's messed up in the game more so to show the devs, hey, boom, this is what's going on, we need y'all to fix this. And then the devs come along and say, okay, we see y'all, we're gonna take this, we're gonna fix it, boom. Versus Sparking Zero, where it was more like, we don't want the devs to fix this thing, we want this to stay in the game. Kind of, there was obviously a subsection of the community that wanted the game to get patches and whatnot, but there was also a subsection of the community that just didn't want to see it get patched and was just abusing it all around, and it just made for a terrible experience. So that's how I feel about that.
Well, typically, what will happen with the anime game is you'll probably have one of the two, or maybe two of the three issues with a game, and it just never goes long term because of that. So sometimes you'll get a game that drops and it'll have no type of extra content from the developer. They put out bare minimum patches, and the game just dies out because it's not good. And then you'll have
Honestly, I'm gonna
the
be real when I
community go
say
out of its
this,
way to
that
kind of exploit certain
when it
things,
comes
or
to the
just
offline
consistently
content
hate
and
farm the
fighting
game, which
games,
just kills it even faster. Or you'll get another
it
combination
is
of
the most
content
important, bro.
creators
It really is.
and the game just not having that much variety. Not having that much of a balanced effect to the point where the game can last long term. So
Like, I'm gonna be real when it comes to content and fighting games, that the offline content that you can do when you're not trying to play online, let alone the online content, it's like a mix of both, but especially the offline content where you're not playing online is so important. Like, you need to have offline content so that your players don't get bored with the game or say that I got nothing to do when you're not playing online. You got to. You got to, or else the game will just die out so fast. I mean, we saw this happen with one of my favorite games that I thought would have been really good in the anime space. It wasn't a fighting game, it was an MMORPG called Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream, where that game came out and, it had the co op where you could play with 16 players at the same time online and everything. You could fight boss raids. It was good. But the only thing they had for the offline content in that game is the reason why it died, if people are still playing it as of today, but I'm pretty sure there's not a lot of people still playing it. But the reason why it dies because there was no offline content outside of the story mode. Outside of story mode, there was nothing. Like, it is really important for anime games or just anime fighters, especially too, that you need to have offline content, bro. You need to have stuff, and Bleach does have that. Me personally, I think that they could put more, and maybe they will when we get Thousand Year Blood War DLC and whatnot. But we do have the mission mode. We do have, obviously, the side story, the main story. We got offline content that we can do, and how we even got the versus mode that we can do, if you want to play with friends and whatnot, obviously. It has that offline content. And me personally, I think it needs more, but it's so important. It really is.
content creators will show busted tech, and then when the community starts to abuse the broken tech and they don't get any feedback from the developers, everybody's looking around like, well, what happened? Why is the game dead? How did this happen? It's like, I think it's fair to say that if you put out a video about an exploit, or you put out a video about how to do something in the easiest way in a ranked competitive environment, it should be common sense that within a couple of days or minutes, people are going to start training and learning how to do that exploit, because that's just unfortunately the current generation we have.
Yep.
People don't like to train, they don't want to learn, they don't want to, figure stuff out. They just want to go online and look for the easiest loopholes to win because of,
Yeah, nobody.
egotism.
And that's another thing I feel like is a thing is compared to the Storm 4 days and everything like that to now, nobody wants to actually get good anymore. Nobody wants to get in the game in lab. Everybody's always looking for the easiest way to get a win. Nobody actually wants to practice combos that they learn. Nobody actually wants to practice, maybe some tech that they learn with a certain character. Nobody wants to do that anymore for some reason. Everybody's always looking for the next broken thing that they can take advantage of so that they can get into the highest rank and say that, oh, I'm good. Like, we saw that a lot, especially in Sparking Zero in the early days. Like, that's why you saw a lot of people calling the Z ranks of those times, you know, the fraud Z ranks, because they were the ones who were out there rage quitting. And I don't know if they fixed that rage quitting problem or not in Sparking Zero, but, that's why we got that. Or people abusing the broken tech or broken exploits. Those kind of things. So I feel like that's another thing that, kind of harms the community a lot is nobody's looking to get good anymore when it comes to these games. And especially like in fighting games like this, bro, like it's actually crazy how people, instead of actually trying to get better with a character or trying to learn a character, they will try to find the most broken thing that they can abuse and then hop online. And then after that thing gets patched, if it does get patched, they will move on to the next thing. Like, it's actually insane.
That's just the current generation. That's the current stuff we are dealing with right now. And because of that, even in cases where developers do patch stuff quickly, even in cases where developers go out of their way to kind of stop and help the game's lifespan out, it doesn't work long term because, again, the content creators and the community immediately look for the next crazy thing to post online for either clout, view clicks, or different things that just are petty reasons to kill off a game, whether they're aware of it or not. So that's why I feel like anime games just don't go anywhere long term, because sometimes you'll get a developer that actually actively patches a game pretty quickly. In my opinion, I think Sparking Zero, for the amount of characters we have in the game, was patched fairly quickly in terms of mechanics and balancing and stupid ass mechanics that probably should have been looked at before the game even released. But the fact of the matter is,
Yeah, they definitely
patched it
after.
pretty damn quickly.
I'm about to say after
But
that,
as soon as they patched
especially
one
after
thing,
the
you had
Android thing,
dorks hopping
man.
online, making guides on how to do the next thing. And
Yeah,
like I said, obviously in a ranked based environment where people are fiending to get an imaginary Z rank, it's pretty obvious that they're going to go online and use that exploit every single game to make sure that they can get there the quickest way possible. That's just common sense. So, like I said, you never really win. If a developer puts out the game and it's incomplete, then it's incomplete. It's a bad game. It's going to fall off by itself. If a developer puts out the game and they put out quick fixes, you're going to have content creators and community members go out of their way to make sure the game dies quickly by putting out loopholes and stupid stuff. And that just leads to no game having a long-term lifespan because people just don't know how to stop being dorks.
and this is where I'm gonna interject and say that the game is what you make it, bro. Once again, I said it in the beginning of this video that a lot of games, especially in the fighting community, not the anime community when it comes to their fighting games, but the fighting community, specifically the FGC, when they have a game that has a problem, like maybe the online's trash, the community with the fighting game community, one thing I can give to them is they will go out of their way to make sure that game at least has something going for it. Like, they'll do offline tournaments. They'll start something. Hell, they'll do something to keep the community positive, uplifted, and they're not looking for broken tech to use because they actually want to be good at the game. If there is broken tech, a lot of the times the fighting game community usually calls it out. We see a lot of that going around with Tekken 8 right now, where the players asked for more defense and instead they added more offense. If that was in the anime game community, they wouldn't have said a thing. Unfortunately, there would be people that call it out, obviously, but not a lot. A lot of the time, it'd probably end up being people talking about, oh, this is the most broken thing you can do now with this or that and whatever. And yeah, it would end up just killing the game off faster than normal. And I think that that's really sad because honestly, I think that as a community, we should be wanting to call out this stuff when we see it. And I know the Bleach community, specifically the Bleach Rebirth of Souls community, has been calling out a lot of stuff, especially in the early game that was broken. And even now, there's small things here and there. And I'm glad that we're doing that because once again, normally that wouldn't happen. But it's once again going back to the point he made before. The fact that that even happens is just due to the fact that people don't want to get good and lab in the game anymore. It's the fact that people are always looking for the easiest exploit to get their imaginary Z rank or the highest rank in the game. You know?
Dorks. You don't. And I already can hear it. The typing, the keyboard. Well, you can't. I can't tell you guys the amount of people who tried to sit there and defend people playing dork like in my original rant video, and it's gotten to the point where I'm just tired of trying to debate people and argue for why a video game should be played for fun, why it's not fun to run into UI every game, why it's not fun for you to have to counter and figure out a way around infinite sweeps, why it's not fun to play against infinites. Like, you can't argue with these people. People will sit there and genuinely try to defend these mechanics and tell you it's a skill issue, get around it, you're not good, you can do it too, so why don't you do it? It's an endless goalpost moving argument that I've had for over 8 years. It just, you don't win with these people. There's
And
always
what's crazy about it too is when you try to tell these people this thing and they argue about infinites being a good thing or whatever. It's like it's all good for them until they're the ones getting caught in an infinite. Then they want to complain and say that, oh, the game's garbage. It goes from get good to, oh, why you keep doing these infinites, It's actually insane, bro. Like it gets the turns tide so fast, bro. It's actually insane. Did I say that right? I said that. Did I just say the turns tide? Oh my gosh, my brain today. But you guys get what I'm saying, bro. You guys get what I'm saying. It's actually nuts.
an excuse, and the problem is nobody wants to take accountability. And like I said, I don't think this video long term is going to really do anything for the anime game community. I don't think this video is going to change anything, but I haven't uploaded in a while, and my lack of enthusiasm outside of my busy schedule for why I haven't uploaded is just trying to find out a way to keep passion in my current craft without wasting my time long term. And I've just come to the conclusion that if I'm going to upload anime, game videos, which I would like to do because I do like the community, I do like educating people on characters. I like anime games. I like anime. I like fighting games. That's an anime game, right? Anime fighting game. Then I would continue. But I realized I can't put so much into it that I actually care to the point where I'm investing money. I'm investing long-term time. I'm like literally sitting here making up strategies to try to help a community that never will help itself. And that's what I've come to the conclusion of. It's literally everybody pointing fingers at each other. It's whenever we do get a positive outcome, somebody looking for the negative and exploiting the negative, and then looking around and wondering why the game is negative. That's basically what anime fighting games have become. It doesn't matter. People will always complain about something. It doesn't matter how quickly
That was a
dev will patch
clean
something,
icicle
somebody's
combo.
gonna
I
look
never
for the
thought
next
to do
broken
that.
thing. And when people
I've
find
never
out
thought
and
to do that.
realize that, hey, this is a video game, 99.9 people who are getting on these games are hopping off work, they're getting out of school, their busy day, they just want to hop online and play the fucking game for fun with their friends, bro.
Facts.
Like, when people realize that is the long-term goal of playing a video game, to enjoy themselves, I think this cycle might begin to stop. But again, like I said, we're in a very egotistical, delusional society right now where people define fun based on a windscreen. And I've memed this to high hell about how stupid it is to dictate how good you are based on how many times you can win on a video game, when most of the time these video games aren't even balanced enough to really take seriously. But
Yep.
y'all go above and beyond to make sure you literally can't win in most of these games by finding loophole-ish dumb shit.
It's the reason why it's because of that reason why the FGC community especially didn't really take like the Storm community serious when it comes to fighting games, because it's like nobody actually wants to get good. Everybody's always looking for the next broken thing to exploit. And to top it all off, like he was talking about before, everybody for some reason is obsessed with a win screen. Like if they ain't winning, then they're not having fun. And that's why you see a lot of people when they're not winning on games like hell, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and even hell, you see some of that in Bleach Rebirth of Souls. I posted multiple videos where I've had people rage quit against me in Bleach Rebirth of Souls, and there's not even a ranked mode. I'm just trying to play the game to have fun, but yet for some reason, and it's even more funny when they're playing the most broken characters in the game, or the high tier characters. For whatever reason, even with a game without ranked, like you even see it in Bleach Rebirth of Souls, people be rage quitting. It's insane. Like nobody just wants to have fun no more. It's gotta be I win or I'm not having fun. Like it's actually insane. And I don't know why or how we got here, but honestly, I like if the anime gaming community is going to last a long time as far as the games, this whole I need to always win thing, unless you're playing in a tournament or unless you're playing in like some or for a team or something like that or some high stakes stuff, then I don't know why. Like obviously we want to win, but like I want to win games for instance. Like obviously I play to win, but I'm not gonna be out here rage quitting and getting mad if I lose a game. Like I'm not gonna be going crazy over it. Like if I lose, I lose. Good games have we're having fun. And I need to know what happened to that because we need to bring that back. We need to bring that back. Like seriously, because the way that the community is right now, it's like if you don't see a win screen, it's a rage quit. It's actually like nobody's having fun anymore, which is crazy to me because that's what these games are made for in the first place. But yeah, I digress. He's definitely right about this.
Like, the entire concept of neutral doesn't exist to a lot of people. But I'm ranting here, I'm rambling, but I'm trying to explain to y'all why, in my shoes, it doesn't make sense to, like, long term really invest a lot of stuff in this community. A lot of content creators don't help. Most people barely talk about this subject or, turn a blind eye to it. They like to pretend like, oh, it's a kumbaya, we all grow and grind together. Like, no, people grind together who they want to see up on the top. That's what I have also discovered in this environment. If you're like trending, if you're one of the cool kids, you go to the spaces, you get to go on all these different events. But even that long term doesn't matter if those same people that are up at the top aren't helping to support these games, aren't doing anything positive to push these games that they so called care about. It doesn't matter how many times you go on a Twitter call. It doesn't matter how many like group environment calls we have, or like who's trending, who has clout, who's doing what. It doesn't matter what tournament you host. None of that stuff matters if long term you're not trying to positively help the game or just educate the community as a whole. Everybody.
Right. He's definitely speaking facts. And here I'm gonna be real with you. It's only as of recent that I've seen videos come up where, especially with Sparking Zero, people were talking about the toxicity and how we need to stop that, and they're actually kind of doing something about it. It's a lot of smaller creators, not really a lot of larger creators. Outside of like, it's a lot of smaller creators doing it, which is a good thing. But with Bleach Rebirth of Souls, this is like the first fighting game that we've gotten for an anime space where even with the exploits, even with the bugs that the game had at launch, like they actually, at least from what I've seen, like people like Globeku or Biscuit or whatnot, are actually having a good time with the game and making a positive impact on the community instead of a negative one. Like Bleach Rebirth of Souls so far has been one of the first fighting games I've seen in the anime space from the last ones we got in between Storm Connections, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, JJK Curse Clash, and Demon Slayer Himikami Chronicles, where instead of everybody trying to, just see a win screen and, be, really toxic, or now people are actually trying to help the game be good. And we want, because people are getting tired of us getting these anime games that we really love to enjoy and it just dies. Like I think people are finally getting sick of that. And I feel like especially with Bleach Rebirth of Souls, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero played a huge part in that, where A lot of people got into that game. We were all hyped for it, but then it died off because of the toxicity, and nobody wants to see that happen again with the Bleach game, especially a Bleach game that we haven't gotten after 10 plus years. Like, we want to see this game thrive. And hell, we can also see that based on the recent patches that, um, the people developing this game want to see this game thrive, Like I haven't like with the anime games, like they've been putting out, as far as Bleach Rebirth of Souls is concerned, hella patches. They've been on top of it. They've been out there communicating with the player base. Obviously you got smaller creators like myself putting out whenever they add patches and whatnot, or if I see a bug, I'll talk about it. You know that kind of thing. I haven't hosted any tournaments yet. I was about to host a Chad tournament, but we do got people in the space who are hosting tournaments like Goku and whatnot. So once again, I think we're starting to see a little bit of a shift, but there is still a lot of toxicity that is there, but we are starting to see a shift.
Turns a blind eye and acts like everything's cool because it works for them because they're a part of the status quo. Me, I've been doing my own thing my entire life. I don't follow anybody. I don't believe in gatekeeping. I don't believe in purposely killing games because it might help my algorithm. It'll help my view count. That's just drone bot behavior, and I'm not a fan of it. Me personally, I feel like I'm too multi-talented to hold myself just to anime games. So, if you guys didn't know, I also have a channel called Casher and Kuma. That is my first channel. And another reason that I've said like a million times by now that I get nothing out of doing this is because this is not my main channel. I know a lot of people think this is my main channel, this is my main craft. I came back to play anime fighting games because I enjoy them and I wanted to learn more about the YouTube algorithm. This is nothing more than a training session. This was me climbing to the top to learn about the algorithm in a different niche to figure out where I can apply these same new skills to my original niche so I can thrive more. That's it.
I didn't even know he had
I
a second
think the
channel.
anime gaming
That's
niche
that's new.
is, very small, and for the amount of people that we have in here, it's like an endless circle of bullshit. And to be quite frank, I'm just tired of it. Am I deleting the channel? Am I getting rid of my Discord? Nothing like that, bro. I'm not dramatic. I'm not gonna quit just because, I'm not like top dog or I don't like the environment. I care enough about you guys. I care enough about anime games in general to just do what I'm gonna do anyway, and just filter it all out. Like ignore it. I just won't hold it so high as a priority that I'm like stressing out about this stuff and trying to really make solutions because I'm only one person. Like it takes more than one person to really point these things out and have people go, "Oh shit, he's right." Like let's actually start changing some stuff that makes sense. But like I said, that takes a larger effort from all three parties, the community, the developers, and these content creators to make that different environment.
Right. He's definitely right. He's definitely right. And once again, I think we're seeing that shift start to happen with Rebirth of Souls. Because once again, after Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and then we got a new Bleach game on the horizon that people have been anticipating, that Bleach fans especially have been anticipating for. I think people are getting sick and tired of the toxicity and all that, which is why you see a lot of that not really going around anymore. And, especially when you see bugs or broken exploits, you see the community calling that out and telling the developers, hey, you need to fix this. You need to, hey, this is broken thing in the game. Hey, fix this. And so far from what I've seen, with the devs who made the game, they've actually, responded to the feedback very fast, I might add. And, they're starting to, fix stuff. The game I feel like right now, as far as Bleach Rebirth of Souls is concerned, is in a way better space than it was a couple of weeks ago. And overall, I feel like the community isn't even that toxic either. Like, I'm not seeing a bunch of people running around talking about broken exploits. I'm seeing a lot of people having fun playing with their friends and whatnot, and it's a good feeling. We're actually starting to make some progress. Obviously, there's some toxicity here and there, but even then, I haven't seen that. I'm gonna be real. Like, I've been on Twitter every once in a while, just keeping an eye on the Bleach Rebirth of Souls community specifically, and you don't see a lot of crazy toxicity going on in there. It's a lot of people having fun, asking people who their favorite mains are, who their favorite characters are, asking for tips and tricks on how to play a character, and whatnot. Obviously, there are some complaints here and there about certain characters being balanced or overtuned or whatnot, but even that's a good thing because obviously the community manager is watching over that. And, if there is anything that's broken, we go and tell the devs, and then they go in and fix it. That's why they put out that giant survey that they put out recently, and it's a good thing that they did too. So, He's not wrong. It's definitely going to take more than one person to do it. Like, everybody's got to be, it's a group effort. If we want these games to survive, it has to be a group effort or effort. And when we see toxicity or when we see a broken exploit, instead of out there posting it on YouTube and talk about, oh, everybody go online and do this, we should be on there talking about, we need this fixed immediately. And we've been seeing a lot of that with Rebirth of Souls, where we see broken things and people will call that out. So, once again, he ain't wrong.
But that's just why I feel like anime games don't really go anywhere long term. It's either the game is ass, which it dies off anyway. The game comes out pretty decently, and people find loopholes to make sure the game comes out ass long term, or YouTubers follow like a certain agenda to hate farm a game or kill it from the inside out, despite how good or bad it may be, because that's what's trending or because that's what they want to do because they don't like the franchise. Like, you
Yeah,
don't
we
win
saw
no
that a
matter what you
lot.
do.
We saw that a lot with Bleach, bro. Holy, I don't know what it is, bro. People be shitting on Bleach like it's their freaking bread and butter out here, bro. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me, but whenever Bleach gets anything, bro, it's got to be like, it's like a hidden agenda for a certain portion of the internet to just go online and be like, oh shit, Bleach getting something new, I gotta hate on that shit. And I'm not gonna mention any names, but y'all know who I'm talking about, especially when it comes to this game, who was talking a lot of mad trash. A lot of mad trash, bro. It was insane. Because as far as Bleach Rebirth of Souls as a game, in my opinion, I think it's one of the most decent. It's probably one of the best fighting games we've gotten for the anime community in a long time. In a very long time. It's completely different from what we've used to. It puts FGC mechanics in it that a lot of the time that especially if you only play anime games that you take some time to learn, and it's actually fun to mess around with. But I digress.
So that's basically why I feel like anime games just die. Why dorks always win. Why, no matter what game comes out, the dorks win. We Sparking Zero is the biggest franchise that has ever dropped in terms of like Tenkaichi and that type of stuff. And to see the biggest franchise die like in 2 months, like blinking,
Yeah.
is absolutely insane to me. That's the biggest dork feat I've ever seen. Even Storm didn't die off that quick.
No.
But arguably, you could argue the only reason why Storm is still alive to this day is because the dorks refuse to let it go. And the same people who play that game, quote unquote, competitively and thrive from the environment are the same people who kill the game. So I wouldn't really say the game is still alive or that it's like really relevant.
It's just hanging on by a thread. The only thing keeping that game alive, based on what I've seen so far, is obviously you got the people posting, the stuff that they are posting. But then, obviously Bandai Namco's trying to keep that game alive, because it's Naruto and whatnot. They're trying to keep that game alive, but once again, like he said, I don't, he ain't wrong when he says that the game isn't necessarily alive. It's just barely there, and that's why I don't see a lot of content for it. Because I remember when that game came out, or when it was announced, I saw a lot of Storm's Connections content coming out. But as the community got more and more toxic, I've seen less and less, videos on it. So I wouldn't even say that's alive. I'd say it's there, like it's got its niche kind of hidden away thing, but sooner or later it will die out. And I with Demon Slayer coming out soon, and the game looking like it's gonna have the same Storm formula in it, you know I would have a prediction that a lot of the Naruto Storm community, will move over to that, and the cycle will continue. And maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. Maybe this new Demon Slayer game will be different, but we'll have to see.
These dudes are literally in like a small fishbowl and they just don't they don't know how to get out the fishbowl. Like, that is where they live, so therefore it looks relevant or it looks somewhat alive because those like 200-ish members of like piranhas just
That was a
stay in that
crazy
fishbowl.
flash
So
step.
I don't really think that's a comparable case to Spark and Zero because Spark and Zero had millions of copies. They had millions of people on there.
Yeah.
And even in terms of talking about games that fall off or like games that had a downfall, going from millions
To like
to
thousands is
a
pretty.
couple
Yeah.
thousand to a couple hundred is absolutely insane. Yes, I know all games fall off. That's just how it goes. I know Black Ops released. I know other games released, so it helps with the fall off. But
But here's the thing, it's Dragon Ball, and everybody was hyped for this. That's what really ticks my brain here. It's Dragon Ball. This game had everybody in their mama hyped to see it, bro, come out. We were waiting for the next Budokai Tenkaichi game to come out, and we were hyped. Millions of players. Like, it was even a like when you go online when the game first came out, you couldn't you'd find a match instantly, bro. Everybody in their mama was streaming the game, playing the game, posting videos, everything, bro. This was supposed to be. There were conversations about content creators and all sorts of shit before the game even came out. There was people giving out advice on how to make their videos more creative and whatnot, and it was all over the place. Like, the game had so much hype that you couldn't escape it. You go on YouTube, Sparking Zero's right there on the front page, right there. And to go from millions of players at launch to now only a couple thousand as far as Steam is at right now, that's pretty bad. And especially in 2 months, like, obviously there's going to be a drop off, but a drop off that big, that's like a 90% drop off. I've never seen anything like that. Never. And it's not to shit on Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, because I think the game is fun, in my opinion. I have fun whenever I play that game. But it's because of the toxicity and the people, exploiting the broken stuff. Not to mention the fact that that whole tournament that happened really didn't, that really didn't help, with the whole flying up and down thing with the androids. Like, oh my gosh, bro. Like, that, like, it's because of the toxicity and because of the people posting broken exploits and exploiting those broken exploits that the game died off so fast. And it was the same with Storm Connections. Storm Connections was the same thing. They didn't have all the crazy tournaments and stuff that they did, but then again, the community wasn't making crazy tournaments for themselves, and the people that were posting content on the game were only posting, once again, the exploits until they got patched. So it's like, I mean, what can you do?
but people don't take accountability, and that's the last I'm gonna say on this before I end the video. Like, the main reason why I'm totally done speaking about this, like I said, I'm gonna release my unfiltered rant from the stream because I feel like it would, one, be a lot more enjoyable for you guys. I know a lot of you guys enjoy my rants, but two, because I'm just tired of talking about a topic that nobody does anything about. It's just that nobody takes accountability. Like, I have seen so many content creators, so many people in the communities sit there with a straight face, hype up a game, talk about how it's gonna change the environment, how it's gonna change the anime game niche. Oh my god, this is, I've been waiting for this game for years, bro. I'm gonna do this for the community. We're gonna do events. We're gonna all work together. And then the game drops, and all you see, dudes, is follow the trends, upload the exact same content as the next man, and do absolutely nothing to actually help the game space. That's all they do, nonstop. The same people that hype up these games before release are the same people releasing guides on how to do broken stuff, and then sit around looking around like, why is the game dead? Why is rank toxic, bro? If it baffles me that nobody really pays attention to stuff though, but it's cool to be hype about a game. But if you drop a guide on how to abuse a mechanic, I don't care how big or small you are of a creator, you have influence. It's even worse if you're a bigger creator because of your pure influence. One video for you hitting 300K showing an exploit or something that's really, really stupid in the game is going to impact the long term state of the game because that's just how much influence you have as a creator.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't either care or they just haven't thought that deep into it, but it does matter. The next argument people give me is, well, somebody would have done it. Yeah, but it doesn't have to
It
be
doesn't have
you.
to be you, yeah.
If you're a big content,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be you. Like I said before, with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, I said it before, and I know I'm harping on this, but if Dragon Ball Sparking Zero it came out back in the, Naruto Storm 4 days, like I said before, the broken exploits, yeah, people would have found them, but you wouldn't be seeing YouTubers, specifically the bigger ones at that point in time, if they were playing Sparking Zero during that time. You wouldn't be seeing them, talking about, oh, here's the next broken exploit that you can do on Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. You'd probably end up seeing them find that shit on accident and then calling it out and telling Bandai, hey, or whoever the publisher was, hey, this needs to be fixed. You wouldn't be seeing those people running around and telling them, hey, Here's some broken exploit. Here's the next thing that's gonna make you good at sparking zero. And go crazy with it. Because he isn't wrong, either big or small. If you're out there putting out exploits, whether your view gets either whether your video gets 100 views or 300K, that's still 100 or 300K people who have saw you show them how to do a broken exploit. And what do you think that they're gonna do? They're gonna go online and abuse it because they want to win. Because at the end of the day, who enjoys losing? I mean, sometimes it's fun to lose, especially if the game is really good. That you're playing against a really good guy, and you just like, hey, this guy's just that good. He's out here cooking me. But yeah,
Creator, and you genuinely care about these animes like you say you do, if you genuinely care about this niche like you pretend you do, then you should be trying to help out the space and put out positive outlooks on the game. Try to give out tips, try to get in contact with these developers, try to genuinely do stuff to better the community instead of showing them how to be toxic, showing them how to, like, these dudes are literally giving them the torch on how to be toxic. That's essentially what I've been seeing 90% of bigger content creators, and it just never stops. How to do this online. This character's insane online. I get it. You got to get your clicks. You got to, like, but, for a lot of people, I feel like it's not even an excuse at that point for, like, oh, but it's the algorithm, it's the clicks. They want to sell themselves because some of them are big enough to the point where they could upload a video of them washing their car and people would watch it. So I don't see the need to educate people on a broken mechanic when you could sit there with an outside garden hose watering your fucking plants for like 20 minutes and people would still pull up and watch it. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I feel like that's a bit of a cop out and an excuse. But even if a smaller creator uploaded a glitch or like a how to guide, how to be an exploit, it still wouldn't get as much traction as somebody who's immediately large in the community or large in the anime game niche space. I want to make it clear, I don't think any large creator owes me or anybody anything. You work hard, you build your own brand, you do what you want to do, dog. Like, I'm not the policeman for how to make the right type of content or how to save the anime community. I'm not Superman. I got my own flaws. I got stuff I'm learning about, what to do, what not to do. But the pure,
that Bonkai
blatant,
Ichigo is going crazy.
outlandish shit that a lot of these dudes do that kill these games is baffling to me. And it wouldn't bother me if they wouldn't sit there and then ask why. This wouldn't be a topic. This wouldn't be a rant. This wouldn't be a long video if people didn't do it and then, ask why. That was the biggest problem I had in the Storm community. Dudes setting fires and looking around asking why the building's on fire.
Yeah. It's like it's one thing to be toxic and then be like, okay, whatever. But it's one thing to be toxic in a community and then wonder why the community is getting burnt to the ground. Like, come on, bro. You're the one who brought the fire.
Shit drives me nuts because the lack of accountability part is what drives me nuts. Like, it's not rocket science to know that if you drop a broken character guide or if you drop a how to loophole glitch guide, that within 24 hours, big or small, that's probably going to be on majority of people's presets or playlists or however they play in the game. And yes, that is your fault. You are the problem. You are the problem. And that's really all I wanted to say in the video, and kind of explain to you guys where I'm at with the anime game niche headspace and why it's kind of getting more difficult to upload these videos. I'm not going to abandon the channel. I still have a couple of ideas. There's still a lot of people I'm collabing with and doing stuff for you guys because I actually care. I give a fuck. Like, I'm not fake. I don't switch up. I don't clickbait you guys and put y'all on stupid shit. I try to bring back the classic nostalgia gameplay feeling as much as I can. That PS3 era,
Ah, damn, that
that
Shunsu is going
PS2 era,
crazy.
that PS1 era, that GameCube, that PSP, that Nintendo DS feeling is what I try to provide on the channel. And that doesn't mean I can't break out of the mold. That doesn't mean nobody can't. But long term, it doesn't really affect anything in the cycle. And that just means no matter how passionate about a game I am, no matter how passionate about a game you are, it's never going to really last long term because people won't allow it to. And that's really the biggest statement I want to make with the video is it's not always the developer's fault. It's
No.
we're humans. Like, people have a choice to play broken. People have a choice to play meta. People have a choice to upload certain titles and certain videos and certain mechanics that can make or break a game. And people have a choice to follow trends. It's all a choice at the end of the day. And I'm just tired of people walking around feeling like, or acting and talking as if there's a gun to their head. Like, no one forced you to pick UI Goku, bro. No one's forcing you to play Byakuya post patch, when he had infinites. Nobody's forcing you to play Mask Ichigo. Nobody's forcing you guys to do any of this stuff. This is stuff you guys get on here and aspire to do because it makes you feel superior. It makes you feel like you're good at a game that's meant to be for fun. And that's essentially what kills off these games long term. I think people really have genuinely forgotten what the true definition of fun is. And no, stop typing. I don't want to hear your bullshit about, well, what if it's fun for me? Because if that's fun for you, go download Elden Ring, give yourself infinite health, and I'm sure you'll have a ball. But that's all I really wanted to say in the video. It's a very long-winded video, but next upload will be Wednesday. I'm going to start putting
I think it's a long-winded video, but also an important video. I think that's pretty much gonna be it for me. This video that it's already long enough, but I think that this needed to be talked about. Jesus Christ, I didn't expect this to be an hour long. God damn. Jesus Christ. I didn't know I was yapping for that long, bro. Oh my gosh, bro. Jesus. But definitely an important video. Wow. I thought that, damn, I must have yapped a lot during this. I didn't realize how much I was actually yapping, but I think it's important to talk about this kind of thing. I think it's important to talk about it. I'm going to be real. If we want these anime games to last, if we want the gaming community to last, as far as fighting games, we got it. Like, the game is what we make it, bro. It really is. The game is what we make it. And regardless of how I feel or how anybody else feels, the only way that we make these games last long is if we're positive. If we're not out here trying to, only use broken exploits. And just overall, in my opinion, just like at the end of the day, we should just be wanting to have fun, bro. We just should be wanting to have fun, whether we win or lose. We should just be wanting to have fun. And once again, I'm seeing a lot of that in the Bleach Rebirth the Souls community, which is why I'm really happy, because we're finally it looks like we're starting to finally break out of that cycle. We'll see what happens in Demon Slayer. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna be for me. I'm gonna get ready to post some more videos today. I got some reactions and other stuff that I want to do for you guys. Didn't know he had a second channel though. That's interesting. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, a really long yap video. If you made it this far, you're a goat. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.